Okay,
Let me
this.
start this one.
Okay.
4K. So I got the picture quality better. Same. That one's right?
Yeah, this one.
Alright, so just get this up right
Yeah.
I didn't know if you need this.
No, that was. Oh, you know
can
what?
keep
Sorry,
it, keep
sorry.
it. Maybe keep it in that.
For me, yeah. Okay. Sensible bag. You see that?
Alright.
Ready? Ready. Morning, Diego. And first of all, let me just say it was a pleasure meeting you guys, meeting you the other day. And because I'm on a mission to try to help a lot of our little boys do. A lot of them are struggling, not just boys. And people said, why were just boys? But I think I know God meant for men to lead. And so therefore, I think if you get our men leading society in our homes, I think then it steps up. It shows girls then what a good man looks like, what a good boyfriend looks like, what a good father looks like. So I'm starting with men. So yeah, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Sure. First off, thank you for inviting me to have this interview. It's a pleasure. So my name is Diego. As you mentioned, I'm 27 years old. At the moment, I'm an investment associate for a wealth advisory firm. But before I talk about where I'm at now, I just want to take it back a bit. So from my earlier years, I would start off in, say, middle school. It was essentially me and my brother. And my mom, she had to basically take care of us. There wasn't a father in the house. So I didn't have a father to really look up to, which was okay because it wasn't normal. It was that way forever. And the essential struggle that we really had as kids coming up was we had to see our mom do everything for us. So she kind of had to struggle and make sure that, she make all the ends meet.
Right.
However, I feel like that struggle was a lesson because it taught me certain skills and it made me aware to certain things in life that are beneficial for me today. And I can give you an example. During my time at school, sometimes my mom, she would struggle to get us lunch money for me and my brother. So what we did was we said we could sell candies and we could make money to pay for our lunch,
Yeah,
and
I
you wouldn't
heard that
have to
one.
give us lunch.
Yeah.
So that was like our first business proposal to our mom. Me and my brother were like, hey, this is a good plan, let's both do it. And she
Yeah.
was like, okay, but don't get catch because you can get in trouble.
Yeah.
So like, no, we won't get catch.
I like that.
And we sold candies and we did it for months. And we were very successful at it. My mom didn't have to give us lunch money for months. And that really...
What does successful mean as far as like how much you made a month out of candies?
I never tracked it on a monthly perspective.
Yeah.
With the skills that I have now, I would have.
Yes.
But at the time I was young, just selling candies, having fun doing it.
Wow.
But what I could say was I was making around anywhere from $50 to $75 per day.
Wow.
However, that wasn't all profit. I had to take some of that and reinvest back
Right.
into buying more merchandise.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
that was very fun. That taught me a lot. That taught me how to deal with business from a very small level. Also, I had one of my best friends at the time, still friends today. I had him work with me. I don't want to say for me, but I'd say
like a
with
partner
me.
and
Yeah. So essentially, I would give him $20 worth of candy in the morning, and I would say, hey, this is $20. If you sell this, I'll give you a certain percentage.
Right.
And then he would sell it, and then I would pay him, and he was getting paid. So he was essentially working with me, and that was very fun because I felt like I had my first employee. And I trusted him, and I got to learn how to deal with people, especially when cash is involved. That's very important because when there's cash, it could always be a lot of theft, and it's hard to trust people and stuff. So it taught me how to deal with situations like that from a very young age, and that was very fun.
Right.
So I started there, and also I was also very aggressive in school. Well, I wasn't really aggressive, but I was easy to become aggressive.
Okay.
So I would have a lot of fights in school because of that, and I don't really want to talk so much as to where that stemmed from.
Okay.
But I was always taught that if someone put their hands on you, defend yourself, right? And that translated to me, well, if someone touch you, fight, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people tried to touch me, and I got involved in a lot of fights, and as a result, I was actually pretty good at fighting.
Wow.
So I decided to start boxing. I was around the age of maybe 14. And 6 weeks into boxing, I was like, I'm very good at this. Then I started to progress, and I became part of the national team. I traveled, I fight, I won a belt, I won a few trophies.
Wow.
So that was very fun. And I would say the biggest thing that changed my life, one of the biggest things was the sport of boxing, because I never had a father figure. But when I went to the boxing gym, I met a few men that I actually look up to.
Okay.
Specifically my coach, Coach Norman.
Okay.
And
I remember him.
Yeah, very good guy. I still talk to him to this day.
It's in Miami now, though, right?
The Philippines.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm planning to look for him this year actually.
Got it.
So that should be fun. But he taught me some lessons that I still remember to this day.
Okay.
And I feel like having a coach like him was like the missing element of having a father figure around.
Got it.
Because a lot of the decisions that I made in my life stemmed from the education I learned from being a boxer in the gym, being coached by Coach Norman. So I would just like to share that, like, if parents out there are raising a kid on their own without a father figure involved, get them involved in like a sport.
Yeah.
Because when you get them involved in a sport with a coach that you trust or a team that you trust, it teaches them so much life skills.
Agree.
And if their coach is a male, it's even better if there's a father figure missing, because they get to see what a man should be like.
Right. If it's a great,
assuming it's a great coach,
exactly,
right?
exactly.
Right?
That he has morals and conduct
Exactly,
too. Because then you're trying to gravitate to that you're missing, and so it's very important. Yeah.
Exactly. So that played a major role for me. And I boxed for about maybe 5-6 years, and I still try to stay active, but I don't compete anymore.
Right.
But I love boxing. I love the lessons that I learned from it. And my mom, she was always like, hey, you can't box forever, you need to go get a job. I didn't like that too much, because I believed that boxing was going to be the career for me to make it to the next level, to create riches, to create wealth. I was going to be famous, etc. That was my belief system at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, I only wanted to pursue boxing, but my mom, she encouraged me to go and get a job, which wasn't bad advice. So I did that. I went out there, I got a job, and I started working for Butterfield from I was like maybe 16 years old. I started an internship with them.
Okay.
And then I was still boxing at the time. And then when I finished, it was like, yeah, I like how this kid worked. Let's offer him a summer job. And it all started from there. I was with Butterfield for like maybe 7 or 8 years.
Got it.
So that was where my professional career started. And I'm glad that it started young as well, because the first job that I had, the first full-time job that I had at the bank, I really didn't enjoy the job, to be honest.
Okay.
And I was grateful for the experience because I was a cashier.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, cashier is like a great job, but it's somewhere you start and you want to progress further.
Correct.
And I was there for about 3 years. And during my time there, I saw a lot of people would come in and they would cash in their paycheck, or they would come and look at their account after getting their salary.
Correct.
And many of the older folks that would come into the bank would say, I just got paid and the money is gone.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I don't have any money left. This all going to bills.
Right.
So when I would see that stuff, I was like, wow, this person is like 40 years old or 35 or 42, whatever. Because I would see their age and etc. And I was like, I just can't live like this. I need to do something better.
Different.
What they're doing, I can't do, right?
Yeah.
So that opened up my eyes from a very young age. I was about 17, 18 years old.
Got it.
I was working very young. And I was like, okay, well, I know the path that I want to go in. It's not what these people are doing, right?
Yeah.
So then I started looking into like business, right? How can I do something that everyone's not doing? So I started thinking about business, starting a business and learning how businesses work. Because 95% of the wealth or the money that's in circulation comes from business owners, comes from businesses, right? So I wanted to be a part of that. And it just so happened that I met this gentleman that said to me, hey, I have an opportunity for you. This was when I was, I think, 18 years old.
Wow.
And he said, I have an opportunity for you, but you have to first read this book. Once you read this book, come and speak with me. You're gonna love this opportunity. I had no idea who this person really was. But he was in a full suit. Okay. So in my mind, I'm 18. This guy's wearing a full suit. He's older than me. So I'm saying, okay, well, this must be a great opportunity. I don't meet a person in a suit every day.
I agree.
Right. So that same night, I got the book and I stayed up until almost 4 a.m. I read it from the front page to the back page.
Wow.
I've never done that since then, but I was so excited about the opportunity. And that book was called Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki.
I read it as well. Very good.
That book.
Just make sure we're talking loud enough, though. I mean, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
No worries.
Louder. Sorry.
So that book essentially changed my life because it gave me a particular mindset and a perspective on the way that money works, the way that the economy works, and just how to have the right approach based on the goals or based on the lifestyle that you want to live.
Right.
And essentially, the book basically talks about there's 4 ways of making money, no matter who you are or what
Correct.
you do. And it's an employee, it's a self-employed
Wow.
individual, it's a business owner, or an investor.
Okay.
And the book also talks about 95% of all the wealth or the money in circulation comes from 2 quadrants: the business owner or the investor.
Wow.
Right? So I was like, okay, well, I want to be on the business owner or the investor side, right?
Yeah. Smart.
And-
I didn't.
And
Yeah.
I chose to be on the investor side. So I was like, oh, I think I like investments. I think I like money. Business is also a interest of mine as well. But I dived more into the investment side. And ever since then, everything that I think about, it's different as far as like a financial perspective. And that book has served me very well. So
Wow. Yeah.
that led me to get better jobs, make better decisions. And since then, I would just say my life has changed. I've read more books, of course,
Wow.
since then.
Yeah.
But I would just like to share that I'm doing pretty well in life, and
Mhm.
the majority of the success that I have had to date, it's really came from 2 things. One is the attitude that I have. I have an extremely good attitude. Most people see
I noticed
me.
that very positive outlook,
Yeah, yeah.
which is good.
Yeah, I don't like to brag and say it, but I mean it is what it is. I hear
It
it from
is.
a lot of people.
Yeah. You do.
And
You do.
I've seen that has taken me very far in life, and I've
Yeah.
learned that from my mom. She always told me when I was younger. I remember like it was yesterday. We were driving to school. She's in the car and she said, "Always have a good attitude because your attitude will take you further than any education can."
I gotta meet your mom because I think it paid off. She's
Yeah.
doing a good job in
Yeah.
planting that into you. Yeah.
Education is very important as well.
Of course, both together.
But
Yeah.
but imagine having education with a poor attitude,
There you go.
right?
Yeah, I've watched
Yeah.
a lot of people fail that way.
Exactly.
A lot of people. Yeah. Yeah, because they're
Exactly.
cocky, they're disrespectful, they're carry their personal life around, they failed on alcohol or women just because that attitude was, oh, I'm this. And if they don't have no, like, yeah, I've watched accountants, lawyers just fail and now in prison or a drug addict or an alcoholic because that attitude of kind of I'm going to be an investor and but just a very cocky disposition and again no morals of a God or a belief in a higher power and their personal life today they fail. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. That attitude is like a very important element. So
Sorry, and the investor, just in case so you don't forget it, the guy who said read this book and then
oh yes, yes.
Yeah.
So
did that opportunity go or
yeah, I'm sorry I skipped over
No, that's okay.
the ending of that story. So essentially, I came back to him the next day and I was like, hey, I read the book. And he was like, wow, very impressive. You read the whole thing? I was like, yeah, I left like 4 pages out, but other than that, I read the entire book.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, wow. And he said, okay, meet me at 5. And I met him, and essentially what he wanted me to do was get involved in a network marketing program called Amway.
Okay, yeah.
So I looked into it
I
at the
remember
time,
that.
and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, this isn't really what I expected. I'm not so interested into this. And at the time, I wasn't even 18.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember I wasn't 18 at the time because when I wanted to sign up, they were like, just tell them you're 18, they wouldn't know.
Okay.
So I was 17. It's actually very good. I read that book at 17. But
That's
yeah,
good.
that was what the opportunity was, and it wasn't what I was expecting, but I was glad I read the book
Right.
because that book changed my life.
Right.
And yeah, so
So that was a good pathway nonetheless.
yeah, and that really got me started into new job opportunities and so forth, and we can dive into that if you'd like to know.
Cool.
further.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, like, so how did you then? And again, that was so. It's so powerful how like just one thing somebody say can change your life for the better or for the worse,
Correct.
or one thing they introduce you to can change your life for the better
Correct.
or the worse. And I read that book too, and I guess my family, my dad is as an entrepreneur, so I kind of that's ingrained in me, I guess, business entrepreneurship. But I just found like I've never known that space of the investor as in the financial investor. I know the real estate part, that's it, what I know. But I'm learning more and more like a lot of these financial tools are like kind of almost far more lucrative than real estate because in a sense where I think it costs a lot less to get involved, get started in that space. Whereas real estate is big capital. You gotta have a lot. Just to buy land is 200,000.
Yeah,
you know what
yeah,
I mean?
exactly.
So yeah, how do you get started into the financial realm?
Yeah, well, for me, when I'm talking about investing, what I like to focus on, and there's many different investments, but what I focus on is what's called traditional investments, which is stocks, bonds.
Okay,
I don't dabble in bonds, just mainly stocks, bit
Okay.
of cryptocurrencies.
you do.
Yeah,
Okay.
a bit of cryptocurrencies. So those are like the traditional. Cryptocurrencies are not traditional, but stocks are traditional.
Got it.
And good morning. And essentially, what I do is each time that I get paid, I try to take at least 10% of my paycheck and I put it into the stock market, specifically into companies that I believe will be around for like the next 10, 15, 20 years. And those companies are, for example, companies like Facebook, companies that are profitable, companies that are large, companies that I see people using every single day, companies that offer real value.
Okay.
So that's what I do. Some companies are smaller than Facebook, of course, because I feel like there's bigger opportunities when you find the right company that's small at the time and you buy into it early, and as the company grow, you can capitalize on that. But that's a bit of complex when you have to choose which company you want to invest in. I would say for the average person, it would be good if they just simply take their cash, like a small portion of what they make, what they could afford to lose, and just put it into the S&P 500, which is essentially an ETF, exchange traded fund, that tracks the top 500 largest companies in America.
Wow.
So, yeah, and it's a very safe bet. Warren Buffett talks about it all the time. He says that the easiest investment you could make is buying the S&P 500, and you don't have to look at it, because essentially all you're doing is you're saying, I believe that America economy will continue to grow over the next 10, 20, 30 years, which it will. I really believe it will.
Yeah.
And if you believe that also, then you can buy the S&P 500 because it tracks the growth of the American economy, the American companies.
So that's almost a safe kind of
that's like,
fail thing.
correct.
Excellent.
That's,
I like that.
That's the safest approach you could take.
Like
of course, there's risk there because the market could go up and down.
Yeah.
It could stay down for a year or two or longer, but it could also stay up for a year or two or a lot longer. And historically, the S&P 500 going back 20, 30 years have historically returned on average around 10% per year. If you average it out, which is pretty good as a safe bet that you don't have to really look at. It's a passive approach. So I highly think that everyone, as long as you're making income, you have a small bit that you can put aside, at least 10% of your paycheck, just put it into the S&P 500 if you want to get involved with investing. And the way to do that is you would need a broker.
Okay.
I don't want to be giving too much financial advice, but just I don't want to say I don't want to say this is what I do and then not tell you how to do it. But
exactly.
Essentially, if you ever want to invest and put your money to work for it to grow in the future, you need a broker, a regulated broker. Okay. Meaning it's applying by laws, compliance, and you're safe. Your money is insured. I personally use interactive brokers.
Interactive brokers.
Yes, and it's just as easy as creating a bank account, if not easier.
Nice.
Just you put in your email.
Sign up for an account.
Yeah, you put in your email, you share your ID, you share what you do, how much money you make, and you're good to go.
Wow.
And then they give you access to send your funds to the broker, and then once your funds are there, it's like a bank account. You can take those funds and you can buy assets like stocks, bonds, ETFs.
Wow.
And it's a very good use of your money, especially if you have cash that just sitting down.
Let's just say like an extra 100. Let's just say for people, let's break it down for like the average person. Save like $150 a month.
Yeah, that's
that's okay.
That's enough, because the idea is you're putting this money aside for the next 10, 20, 30 years.
Exactly.
You're putting money aside that you don't need today.
Right.
And then in the future, when you do need it, it has
it's
appreciated
grown,
so
compound
much.
interest.
Exactly, that it has real value.
Yeah.
Because imagine that you worked for 20 years, right?
Yeah.
And you had $200 every single month.
Right.
That you just saved and you didn't do anything with it.
Right.
Over 20 years, that might be, I don't know, maybe $20,000.
Okay.
I could be wrong with the numbers, but let's just say it's $20,000 over 20 years, right?
20 times 2, 24,
I'm sure it's off. It's probably more like 28,000. So I'm sure it's off. But let's just say it's $20,000.
Right.
In real terms, it'll actually be less than 20,000, because if you stuck it in the bank and left it there, you'd pay small fees on it.
Right.
The bank will charge you small commission fees, small compliance or government stamp duty fees. So it'll be a little less than 20,000. However, if you stick it into like the S&P 500, like what Warren Buffett advises, it's a safe, pretty ideal bet. And what I believe as well, it's a very high chance that over time that 20,000 would be worth maybe 30,000, 35,000, perhaps even 40,000. Essentially, it'll appreciate far more than what it was at the initial investment amount. Right. And that's the goal. You put money aside that you don't need, so in the future it's worth a lot more in today's
Yeah.
today's value. that you
Compound
can-
interest, I guess, right?
Essentially, yeah, and then you can use it and get real value from it.
Wow.
So yeah, I'm very aware from a financial perspective. Each time that I get paid, I put a certain money aside. I budget each month, and that has been very helpful for me.
Just a quick question then. When you open an account, you sign up, then do they invest for you? Okay, so it's S&P 500. Do they broker do the trading for you, or they just handle it? Or what's their fees? And so like say 200 each month, right? They're buying the stocks and stuff. Are you specifically doing the S&P 500? That's what you're investing in, nothing else. And then they're let's say purchasing for you. And that's a naive question to say, obviously know nothing
No, it's
about
good.
stocks.
It's,
Yeah.
it's a good question
No.
because
But
if
I'd
you
like
don't,
to learn.
if you don't know, you have to ask
Exactly.
questions to learn.
Yeah.
Essentially, the fees are like very minimal because you're making the investment yourself. So essentially, all you do, you put the cash there, you send a wire transfer, you pay a small wire fee to get the funds to the account.
What's the wire fee since you said that?
Yeah. So using Bank of Butterfield, it's $25.
Okay.
In my opinion, that's quite high.
Yeah.
Because if you send $150 or $200 a month and you pay $25 to send it, that's a high percentage. So you could wait until you have maybe $1,000, put it aside, then send it.
Yeah.
But what I do, I use a international account where I send the money there. It's a cheaper fee, and then I send it over there.
Okay.
It's a bit complex, so I don't want to dive into it because it might take too much time.
Just
but
quick, just to interrupt you there, because I know now there's called a Wise money transfer. It used to be called something
TransferWise.
else. TransferWise, yeah. And
Yeah,
it
that's
used to
what
be. That is it?
That's what I use.
Oh
yeah.
my goodness.
So essentially, I'll just break it down real
Yeah.
quick. So TransferWise is the international border bank account.
Correct. You can
Right.
you can get them, and just kind of make people know, because I signed up for one, and you can have a bank account in any
Correct.
currency.
Correct.
British, can't do Cayman, I think. Well,
No,
they
no,
can.
just
They,
US,
they take
yeah.
your US,
But you could,
and
yeah.
Filipino, any currency.
Correct.
So you set up that account with them, and I find I did it up to last night. I find it's easier to do the transfers and stuff from your phone than on
It
my
is.
computer.
It is.
Right? Add money from your bank account to that, and then then I can send it to my British
Correct.
account. And so it's virtual bank
Correct.
accounts out there.
Correct.
US, and then from US, I noticed that I found it was less than to transfer from US to that. It's smaller fees than the bank.
Exactly. So that's what I do.
Love Wise. I love Wise.
That's what I do. Like for example, if I'm taking 500 US to send to my broker to invest,
Yeah.
I will use Wise because I'm paying maybe like I don't know $12, $13, $14,
Right.
as opposed to paying 25 CI. So
Well, exactly.
it's 50% less.
Yeah, I got
Because
you.
25 CI is like 30
Got
US.
it. Got
I'm
it.
paying
That's
14
important.
US. Yeah.
Very
So for
important.
me, it makes sense to do it that way. And TransferWise is pretty simple. It's actually easier to sign up for that than a broker. Or it's just the same actually.
Yeah, because
So-
you still have to have the brokerage account, right?
Correct.
You still have the
Correct.
SP. It's just it's just you're saving fees instead of going from Butterfield
To the
or
broker.
local to
Yeah.
the broker. You've signed up for Wise, and I tied my debit card
Correct.
to Wise, which
Correct.
then pulls my debit card is tied to my bank account.
Correct,
And
correct.
So that's pulling money. The
Correct.
debit card is tied to that.
Correct.
That's pulling money. I send the money from my debit card to whatever US account, UK account,
Correct.
and then you pay for it.
So let's break how I would actually send money to interactive brokers if I wanted to invest.
Got it.
What I would do is I would take my debit card, but first I would sign up for TransferWise, email, passport, where I work, how much
Yeah.
I make. Boom, that takes a day or two. I'm signed up. Now that I'm signed up, I take my debit card for
Cayman Islands bank card, yeah.
Cayman Islands, a
Bank
local
of-
bank card,
Yeah,
a local bank
account.
bank card.
Yeah, debit card.
Then I would take that card and I would put the card number in on TransferWise, and I would say I would like to send $100 here or $500, and
Right.
it goes through real time right
I
away.
know. I saw
So
that.
once it gets there, I'm saying, okay, nice. TransferWise also sends you a debit card as well, so you have a physical card
Correct.
for TransferWise.
Yeah, we call it Wise Transfer, but just for anybody who's listening.
Yeah.
Just for anybody listening. Wise, we just know it as Wise, but that's what it's money transfer system.
Correct. So then once the funds is on Wise or TransferWise,
Uh-huh.
then I would get my interactive broker
To pull it from there.
wire-in details, which essentially is my account, my name, the details that I need to send the funds to.
Right.
I would get those details, put it on TransferWise, or I can link my brokerage account directly to TransferWise, where I can just click a few buttons and the funds are sent. So either option, I link it to the interactive broker account, or I go on Wise, I put the details in, I hit send, and it's there within 24 hours. And then once the funds get to interactive brokers, then I have a list of assets I can choose from: Tesla, Google, Apple, whatever, S&P
Wow.
500. then I simply just buy. And the fees are very, very minimal because you're managing the funds. You pay very small commission fees, and that's it.
I got
If you are investing into like a fund which is managed by someone else, then there will be more fees because someone has to actively manage that account or manage those funds, or it's a big process involved and they have to pay different staff members, administration fees.
Right.
Then the fees start to add up. But you don't have to do that.
You're saving it because you're going there. It's exposing you to you've set up an account and you see the options there you can invest in, and you're selecting S&P 5. So basically, you're managing it and not an investor managing it for you.
Correct.
So you save a lot of those fees.
Correct.
So you S&P buying.
Yeah, and you don't have to do anything. You just believe the U.S. economy will continue to grow.
Got it.
You believe Apple will grow, Google will grow, or newer companies will come that will create value. And you say, okay, well, I think the America has a great economy and it's going to grow. Just buy it, and you don't have to do anything else.
Right.
Just sit back and wait unless your beliefs change. Then you can just sell the asset. And the beautiful thing with stocks is you can get the funds right away. So let's say I have $10,000 in there, and I need $10,000 to maybe put a down payment on a house. I can just go on there, click sell. Once I hit sell, the transfer is done within a day or two, usually a day, but it might take a day to settle. Once it's settled, I can just take the funds from my brokerage account, send it back to my bank account, and that happens within an hour.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very seamless, very quick, and it's tangible.
Nice.
It's not like you put it there and you can't get it back. If you need it, you can get it right back.
Wow.
And the fees to get it back from Interactive Brokers is actually zero, unless you do more than one wire transfer for the month. Then it's a $10 fee.
So to get it back out of there,
it's free.
There, wow, that's awesome, man.
The only fee that you might pay is a small commission fee, which is very small to sell the actual assets. It's very small.
It's small, okay.
Yeah, and then once you sell the assets, you have the cash. Then you could send it to yourself, and then you could use it for whatever you need.
Wow.
Yeah.
So when you sign up for that S&P 500 account, sorry, what's it called?
It's
again?
a brokerage account.
A brokerage account. What's it called again?
Interactive.
Interactive. So you don't have monthly
fees,
brokerage
no.
fees?
No.
Excellent, man.
Yeah, there's no brokerage fees.
I did one years ago and I lost money because they were like, oh, there were fees. I mean, years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, I think now with AI and all that too, it's doing a lot of stuff for you. But yeah.
Yeah, so I would say for every young person that's listening to this video, or every young person in general, I believe should have this knowledge.
Absolutely.
And one of the reasons, well, there's many reasons, but I'll share two reasons. One is because you need some sort of financial independence in the future. As a young person, you might not have that because when you're young, you don't really have much. You have to go out there, work, build a reputation for yourself, build experience, work yourself into better jobs, or save some funds to start a business. That takes time. As a young person, you're not that resourceful, right?
Exactly.
However, your biggest resource as a young person will come from your education.
Correct.
Now, if you understand this knowledge of just the basic fundamental level of investing, personal finance, like how do I manage my money when I get paid? What if I get a job that pays $2,000 per month? How do I spend my $2,000 per month?
Good point.
If you don't know that, you're just gonna spend it all, right? That happens to a lot of people, even when they're a lot older too, which is unfortunate. But it all starts with your personal finance, your financial education, your financial literacy, and that helps you manage your money. Once you understand how to manage your money, you have to understand just the basic level of investing, why it's important.
Yeah.
And it's important because it helps you build financial independence in the future, which is very important, right? And the second reason why I think every young person should know about investing is because I might be slightly wrong with saying this, but the Cayman Islands is the second largest financial jurisdiction in the world.
Correct.
I might be slightly wrong.
Yeah. Because sometimes the ratings can change a little bit.
I did some research about 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago, and those were the numbers. But even if it's the top 3 or 4 or 5 in a huge world, and we're a small little country, and so much wealth is attracted to the island, there's no reason that we shouldn't understand the basic level of
that's a good point. Very good point. Very good point.
You know, or why wealth wealth comes to this island.
Correct.
Right? Because understanding that basic understanding, it just makes you more aware. And then once you're aware of these things, then you can say, well, maybe I should get a job in this field so I can see how real money gets moved, how money gets allocated, and stuff like that. Not everyone wants to do that, but still having that knowledge and that education is very important because, again, the goal is financial independence. Right? Being able to say, I want to go to this place, and you can just pick up and go. Or I want to go to a restaurant tonight that's just the Indigo that just came on the island.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry too much about
Yeah.
how much it's going to cost. You
Yeah.
can just pick up and go. It's financial independence, right? Or
Let me interrupt you there.
Sure.
Just what bothers me greatly is exactly what Robert Kiyosaki, and I don't know if you've watched this guy, Dave Ramsey, and they're just so upset. They're like, why is this stuff not taught in schools?
Yeah.
We're teaching kids, and that's why, not boasting, but we'll probably have another series about it, and 2 more in depth, because I'm like, oh God, if I got to be the channel to open this up, because they're angry. They said, you're learning trigonometry and geometry, like, what does that teach you about real life?
Yeah.
And that's their thing. Why are we not teaching this stuff in high school? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So now Dave Ramsey has created a course for high schoolers. I haven't read it, because I kind of figured a lot of it may be tax, and we don't know that.
Yeah.
But very good. And so, if we can do a platform to opening our world up, to showing young people they can do that, how simple, like you just simplified it. Like, because I always had in my head, because I bought stocks years ago and lost someone like $2,000 and just put it in there.
Yeah.
This is probably like 20 years ago, know nothing about it, right?
Yeah.
But like you said, you can get online nowadays with everything in real time. You can get on and see how things are going.
Correct.
You know, and so it need to be taught in high schools, because I think what has caused a lot of young people to go down the avenue of drugs and stuff, because I think they want, most guys, any real masculine alpha man, you call it, want to be entrepreneurial, want to make money, want to be a good provider, want to have a nice car, nothing wrong with that, want to have a nice apartment, absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Of course.
And so what unfortunately has happened with many of them are not having fathers and dads to be there to protect them and show them another way. Then a lot of drug dealers have showed them, man, this is the amount of money you can make per month. So they've gone that route, because they not, well, they haven't been exposed to other good, again, haven't been taught in school. Hey, here's how you can put in $50 at high school level, and here's what it can be at when you get 30. You know what I mean? So they have not been. That is a failure, huge failure. We have not. And respectful as much as I can say this, a lot of our teachers can't teach this. This is why I have said trying to learn the online space. A lot of teachers and college professors, they have been in college probably 20 years ago. They don't know this stuff, so they can't teach it. So you can't teach what you don't know. You know what I mean?
That's true.
And that's a failure for a lot of our children, our young people, that they don't see the potential of how you can be an investor at a young age, what it could be 20 years from now, how you can make a good, honest living legally. Don't have to look over your back, don't have to be hurting people by selling drugs. And so that was such a godsend to you, whoever that, even though the network marketing, which I don't like myself, it's about selling products, and I don't mind. I love e-commerce, but not like you got to get all these people in to before you can make sales, right? Whereas I like affiliate marketing, because say for example you created a course on actual how to invest. If I bought that course, I use it, I learn, then I tell other people about it. You have a affiliate program. It's like Amazon. Amazon is a multi-millionaire company, because they have an affiliate program attached to it. Every time you become an affiliate of Amazon, if you sell products, which after 60 days, if you haven't, they kick you out of their platform. But they give you a commission for every time you sell a product, right? So
that's true. That's important.
So affiliate marketing is something I'm studying. But go for it.
But I like the point that you brought up about the drugs and the younger kids being influenced by older dealers, like you said, to sell drugs, because you can make money. You can make this amount of money in a short period of time. That's very interesting, because when I hear that, what I think is the desire for the younger generation to want to make money, to have more, have a nice car, do whatever they want to do, right? That desire is there. That desire to want more is very good, right? However, the approach,
there you go.
if you're going to go down the road of selling drugs, that's a very poor decision. Exactly. Because long term, it doesn't really pay.
Correct.
Right. And it's very risky. Let's imagine you make $100,000 for 5 years.
Correct.
You don't have the education to steward that amount of income. It's just fast money, and usually whatever comes fast goes fast.
There you go.
Let's say after 5 years you're caught, because you're successful. Once you're successful, you get a new car, you get a new this, you get a new that. Attention follows you, right?
Correct.
You get caught, you're in prison for 15 years.
Correct.
Do the math on 500,000 divided 15 years. your income level is lower than if you were to get a regular job, a minimum wage job.
Right.
It's not worth it. It's
Right.
a very poor decision.
Correct.
What you want in life is longevity. Now, the thing here that the younger generation need to have is the right mindset.
Correct.
I believe
Correct.
mindset is the most important ingredient
Agreed.
to almost anything. It could
Right.
be to life, business, relationships. Your mindset determines where you're going to go, how well you're going to go, what kind of goals you're going to have, and what you're going to accomplish. Without that mindset, you can have all the information in the world. Someone can give you a blueprint and say, this is all you need to do in order to get X, in order to get your dreams come true. Do this. Without the mindset, you're not going to get it done, even if it's a step-by-step instruction.
Correct.
So the first thing that the younger youth need to have is the right mindset.
Right.
Right? What do you want? Most kids don't know that.
Correct.
As a kid, it's
Correct.
fine. As a kid,
Correct.
it's fine. I've met a gentleman last week or a week before, 25 years old. He doesn't know what he wants to do. That should never be the case, right?
Yeah.
You should know what you want to do. But before knowing what you want to do, you need to have the right mindset.
Right.
For example, when I say mindset, I mean when I get older, I want to be able to provide for my mom.
Right.
I want to be able to live where I want to live. I want to be able to donate, help people out.
Very good.
I want to be able to help educate people, show them a better way.
Wow.
I want to be
That's
able to
impressive.
be independent. Like that is a particular mindset. I want to work harder than the people around me. I want to outbeat my competition.
Right.
I want to be different.
Right.
I want to be smart. I want to keep learning every day, even
Right.
when I'm 80, 90 years old. I want to keep learning and progressing in life.
That's good for your mind
That's
at that
a-
age.
Correct, right? The Warren
For
Buffett, right?
Alzheimer's, yeah, not
Yeah,
only
yeah.
that, to prevent this, it's Alzheimer's and all
Yeah.
that. Keep using that brain at 90,
Correct.
you know?
The body might start working, but the brain never stops. Right?
Exactly.
So you have the brain until your last day. So just put it to work, right?
Yeah.
It's healthy for the brain, but having that mindset is the first step in order to move forward, right? You can't move forward without making a step, and your first step is the mindset.
Correct.
So the younger generation need to have the right mindset. Now, if anything should be taught in school, financial independence, whatever the case may be, start with mindset.
Correct.
And I
Correct.
believe the mindset shouldn't start with the younger generation. It should start with the government. I'm not political at all, but the government should have the right mindset. How do we help our younger generation become better in life, become more productive, have the right perspective, benefit from the laws that we have on the island, benefit from the jobs that are high-paying jobs, 100 grand a year, 200 grand a year, because those jobs are here, and
Right.
they're here a lot more than you may imagine.
Right.
Right, $300,000 jobs are they're
Yeah.
here, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of them here.
Wow.
But
And unfortunately,
as a-
it seems like those that say they want to help us seem to not be aware of those jobs. Seem to totally not be aware of those kind of jobs that pay that kind of money. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And
Well,
and you're probably talking about kind of like where you can be your own investor, right? Or are you talking about, follow me, like a job that you go to apply to make that kind of money, or more like an investment where you can create that kind of job yourself? You're saying?
well, I think it's a mixture of both. I
Okay.
think the investment jobs, where you can actually manage funds on behalf of someone else, those jobs may be not as abundant as other jobs. However, you have different jobs in different fields where 100 grand salary is not way out of the reach. 120 grand salary is not way out of the reach. 150 grand. Those jobs are in abundance on the island.
Really? And what would you say they're kind of meaning? Yeah.
Sure.
Explain. Yeah. Well, like which ones you think they are?
Finance.
Okay.
You have I'm speaking from my experience. There's probably a lot more that I don't know.
Okay,
But
correct.
from the industry
Got it.
that I'm in, I can speak because I have friends that are in different fields.
Got it.
Lawyers, they make very
Well,
good
of
money.
course, yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
lawyers may be challenging. Not everyone wants to be a lawyer. You have
course.
finance, you have investments, you have trusts.
Mm-hmm.
People come here and they set up trusts, which is essentially like a entity that protects their wealth,
Okay.
protects their assets. If someone sues you, you don't own anything because it's all in your trust, right?
Got it.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of trust here. There's literally trust companies here. Accountant jobs. Those are very well paying jobs.
Wow.
And the barrier to entry for those jobs aren't that significant. They
Wow.
aren't that low either.
Right.
But 2 to 3 years of hard work and study, you can find your way making it into those fields or progressing and actually acquiring a job that
Right.
pays you pretty well. Now, it's not as easy as it might sound.
Yeah.
I acknowledge that. However, it's not the hardest thing in the world. And in fact, a lot of these jobs on the island are looking for Caymanian people to
Wow.
actually do the job,
Really?
which gives us an edge, right?
Wow.
And when they can't find those people, many times they just bring someone from,
Wow.
overseas, which is not a bad thing, because sometimes you can work along with them and you can learn from them, and
Yeah.
in the future you could, do what they're doing,
Mm-hmm.
or you can move into a different field with the experience you have, and
Mhm.
etc. But I feel the government have to have the right mindset to want to educate and give the younger generation a mindset they should have. Maybe they're doing it already, not sure.
No,
Yeah.
and you're basically saying teach them to be, well, one, again, morals, ethics stuff, because again, I've watched, you and I know about accountants that are in jail now, so where they wanted nice things, and that's fine, but again, if you don't have a moral compass, respect for God, respect for the law, some Christian values, again, you and I know accountants that are now in prison, right? So yes, you gotta have, so that mindset have to be of morals and character as well. But you were saying though about the intro level. Would you say when you say in the intro level, so to get into some of these financial spaces, do they need a degree in just in a business degree at UCCI? They can do that, or just more investments? And is that something they can pick up online of how to learn this space to get?
Yeah, it's a good question. So most times a degree is preferred.
Okay.
However,
In finance.
in finance, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And if you're going to be an accountant, you need some sort of qualification as an accountant. You're not going to be an accountant if you've never done accounting before.
Right.
You need some degree, some education. Some degree of experience or education. Right. Usually it starts with the education. Once the education is there, then you get the opportunities for the job. However, what I think a lot of people fail to realize is you can be on the process of getting your education, getting your degree, and acquiring one of these jobs within
At the
a
same
particular
time,
field,
right.
which is never really taught mainstream. What's really taught is you get your degree, then you get your job. I think that is very poor advice.
Yeah.
I think you study for the field, the career that you want to be in,
Right.
and while you're actively studying, you apply for those jobs in those fields.
Right.
It doesn't hurt to apply for those jobs, and if they say no, then it's fine.
Right.
You just continue studying, and when you get the degree, it just gives you more of an edge to say, well, I have it now. Can I get a shot? But in my opinion, it's far better to educate yourself actively, continue learning, continue studying, go to school, get your degree, or you can go online, get your
there you
designation.
go. I was going to say get online.
I'm doing my
Online,
my education, my designation for investments online at the moment.
There you go. That's what I like people to know. And they're like, I don't have the college. I don't have the money to go to college. They don't teach it here. And no, but I said, listen, if you even got to work at Burger King in the daytime, right, just to kind of pay the bills, and then the evenings spend your time in evenings learning this stuff instead of hanging out, instead of drinking, smoking weed, getting in trouble, making babies, find a and then probably we can do another video of like where exactly you find those spaces of it.
And I want to talk about
go
that.
ahead.
We could do that real quick. So essentially, the key ingredient here is, take it from me because it has worked for me. You don't need to get your degree to get the job. However, getting a degree helps you get the job. You need to be on the path that is taking you towards your job.
Right.
And you need to actually have the attitude and educate yourself and show a willingness that you want to learn, that you're passionate about what you want to do. For example, investments. Show that you're passionate about investments, that you want to do investments. You're reading books on it. You're studying. You're going to school.
Yeah.
And then while you're doing that, seek an opportunity in that field that you want to work in. And you can say, hey, I don't have the degree as yet, but I'm actively studying. I have a certificate.
Correct.
I have registered for this exam that I'm taking in X date, and I'm actively studying, trying my best to pass. And in my spare time, I read books.
Right.
That's another key ingredient. You have to read. I read a quote last night that said, the man that doesn't know how to read has no advantage over the man that knows how to read but never reads. It's so powerful. Imagine you have the knowledge to read and educate yourself, but you don't.
Exactly.
You're really no different than a man that doesn't know how to read.
I got it.
Right? So
good point.
that's important. You have to actively learn, have the attitude, that mindset. Trigger yourself to say, hey, look, I'm going to stimulate myself by learning, not scrolling on social media. Right? So you have to reprogram your mind. And then once you keep doing that, you apply for those jobs. You go online, Google jobs in finance in the Cayman Islands, jobs in investment in the Cayman. It's really not that hard. Just Google it. And you'll find opportunities, and you'll find recruiters, you'll find places like Stepping Stones that have these job opportunities. Apply for them and just see what happens. And that's really how I got started. and it worked.
Applying
very
for
well
those
me.
finance jobs
Yeah,
is
yeah.
what you're saying, yeah.
Like for me, I'll just share my experience real quick.
Okay.
My second job at Butterfield was merchant services. I was there for 3 years, and I have a great manager there, extremely great. We're still friends to this day, and he told me,
Dexter.
he told me.
Sorry.
That's
No,
okay.
I just thought it was okay.
No.
But then that's
But
my train
that's
thought, sorry.
okay. He told me, hey Diego, you're very smart. If you can do this job for 3 years and get really, really good at it, I want you to think about doing something different, doing something above this job. And it was a pretty good job because it allowed me to meet business owners, understand business.
Yes, yeah, merchant services. That was what I was
Correct,
going to
merchant
say. Giving
services.
people credit card
Yeah,
machines.
that was a great
Yeah.
job. I got
Got
to meet a lot of business owners.
Got it.
To this day, I know many business owners
Got
that own restaurants. I can walk into the restaurants. I can speak with them. I know business owners that own diamond stores. I can walk into this day. To this day, I can walk in there, shake their hand, talk with them, have a conversation.
Yeah. Got
So
it.
that is very valuable, and it's a great job. However, he told me after 3 years, if you're doing very well, and you're smart, look for something new.
Yeah.
It's so funny because exactly 3 years, I got something new. One day I was sitting at my desk, my work was done, and while I was doing that job, I was studying investments, trading, I was learning,
Wow.
right? And I said, you know what, I think, this is on my third year, I was like, I think I should do something in investments. I think I would love investments because I'm always reading books on it, I'm studying it. This is what I'm actually doing, right? Let me see if I can work in investments. And I didn't have the knowledge at the time how important we were as an island globally for finance and
Wow.
investments. I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah. A lot of us are not.
A lot of us are not because you're not taught that in school.
Correct.
Well, when I was in school. So I just Googled it. I saw a job on Stepping Stones. It was like investment analyst. I was like, oh, this looks pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And I had a resume, and I just literally changed the job, changed the job that I was applying for. I made a few small tweaks, and I submitted it. And I did that while I was working, and less than an hour they came back to me. I was like, oh, this is pretty interesting. So I was
Wow.
like, this is nice. So I responded back, and we set up the interview. I think it was three interviews, and they went very smooth, and then I
Wow.
got the job. But this is where the mindset comes again. I have a friend of mine, very successful person. He told me, he's an investor as well.
Mm-hmm.
He told me that when you do this job interview, you've never worked in this field before, tell them that you'll work for free because you want the education. And I was like, I was at the time I was 23 years old.
Okay, got it.
So I got started in finance pretty young. And he said, tell them you work for free. Money is not important to you. You're young right now. You don't care about the money. You live with your mom at the time, whatever. Just tell them you work for free. You don't care about the salary.
Because you want to learn.
Because you want to learn,
Yeah.
right? And I was like, you sure? He's like, trust me, that'll work. And I didn't do no preparation for the interview. I just said I'm going to be myself.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to show him my attitude. I'm
Yeah.
going to show him my interest in learning.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to show him that I'm not here for the money. I'm here for the education.
Wow.
That's exactly what I did. And the person that hired me, he asked me, how much do I expect to make, or how much I would like to make? And I told him, honestly, like, I'm not here for the salary. I'm here to learn.
Wow.
And I'll do this job for free. I just want to get the opportunity to learn and get the experience in this field.
Wow.
And he was like, oh, that's very nice, but seriously, how much do you want to make? And I was like, I'm very serious about me wanting to learn. The money's not important,
Uh-huh.
but I would like to make X, Y, and Z based on my research.
Yeah.
But the money really wasn't important at the time.
Yeah.
And to this day, I'm still trying to keep that mindset. I have a very great job at the moment, and I don't plan to go anywhere. I love this job.
Wow. Mhm.
Everything is great about it. The amount that I'm able to learn, the opportunities that I have, it's just amazing. I plan to stay here for a very long time as well.
Okay.
But that mindset that I have then is the same mindset I have now.
Mhm.
I would take a even higher job within my firm if it's available for the same pay. The pay doesn't matter to me. It's the opportunity to learn, and that's what the younger generation need to have.
Yeah.
Your focus is not on the money.
Mm-hmm.
The money will come. Your focus is on the process and the education.
Mhm.
And that's a mindset, right?
Right.
So it's ironic because to get what you want, you have to sometimes act like you don't want it.
Right.
You want to make
Right.
100 grand a year. You want to make 200
Right.
grand a year, but what you really want is the education and the skills.
Correct. Because
to
once you
acquire
get
100
that,
grand a year.
yeah.
So you have to indirectly do what you have to do,
Mhm.
say what you have to say to get to where you want to go.
Right.
But do it with intentions. Don't just say I don't want to make anything because
Right.
you're trying to make a lot.
Right.
That's not the point. You actually just want to learn.
Right.
And think of jobs like this. If you're very passionate about a career, speaking of investments and finance, imagine you're working in a field that you're interested and passionate about, that you would do anyway,
Mhm.
but you're getting paid to do it. So it's like you're getting paid to learn. That's how I kind of
Right,
think of
right.
it,
Like almost like a free education then. Because once
Essentially.
you learn it, instead of 4 year, instead of spending 150,000 to go to college for 4 years, you're learning on the job.
Correct.
And yes, of course, you need them to pay you because you have
Of
bills
course.
to pay.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, of course.
And they will. A job not
Yeah,
gonna hire you for free,
exactly,
right?
right? And but I think number one, it shows an interest. Wow, this young man wants to learn. He's not
Exactly.
just in here to make the money. And of course, he want to make. Who doesn't want to make real money?
Exactly.
No, all of us,
Exactly.
all of us.
All of us
right?
do
But they're like, wow, this young man really wants
Yeah.
to learn.
Yeah.
And that shows a great interest, great attitude, and I bet you got hired. And
Yeah.
yeah, but you're like you said, you're learning, and then of course you probably start out with whatever. Do you want to tell, just for audience, like starting out while you're learning, and so that basically you were learning like how to do investments, like how to invest in the S&P 500.
500.
Yeah, did they tell you how to get on the broker, how to get the
Well,
brokerage account?
I
how to open it?
self-educated myself
Okay,
in
on
those
that
areas.
part, okay.
Yeah. So I did personal investing on my own. Because
Okay.
again, I was very passionate about investing, passionate about finance.
So you open that account for yourself, set it up,
Yeah.
and then so learn that. Yeah, and that's why I tell people I don't have the money to go to college. I'm like, listen, anything you want is online now.
Correct,
yeah,
correct.
and you kind of be careful, don't do
Mm-hmm.
what do you call it, OCC or whatever, where you get so overwhelmed with too much.
Yes.
Pick something, explore that option, see what that is. If that's something you've gained the knowledge about, and go for it. Open that account, start, and spend
Correct.
your time in the evenings doing. Learning more. Like I said, you know how young boys are in trouble because in the evening and they're sleep. You know, I don't have a job. The government don't have a job. You're saying basically you can create your own job.
Essentially, yeah.
You started out, but learning, and the more you learn, you're leveling up
Correct.
to how you can make more money. So like during that process of like kind of learning, being hired, just to kind of learn, just for young men listening, what kind of fee do you think? What kind of salary would that kind of equate to starting off? Like 50,000 per year, or did you kind of start off where you want to learn, and you're learning about your field you want to, but you need to get paid?
Yeah, well, it all depends, right? It depends on your level of experience. But let's say you're starting out, entry level.
Correct.
Entry level, you could. It really all depends. Some employers will try to pay you below what they can. Some will pay you what they think is fair. Some will pay you a bit of a premium, a bit extra.
To kind of
it all-
motivate you to even learn more, probably.
Yeah, well, some employers are just generous,
Okay.
and they feel that they should stay with what the market is paying,
Okay.
or they should be a bit more competitive in order to show you that they value you and they want to keep you, so they
I
pay you a bit
gotcha.
more. It all depends on the culture of the employer.
Right.
So that depends, but you can probably, I would say, look anywhere from 50 to maybe 80.
Okay.
50 to 80.
Very good. Yeah.
Those are good ranges, and I'm speaking in US, so maybe 45 to 75,000.
Okay.
The field that I'm in now, I can't disclose, but
Right, of
I'm in
course.
a more advanced,
Right.
more advanced field than my previous role. So then, of course, the numbers get more advanced as well. But starting out in the field of finance, your salaries are pretty great.
Okay.
And it also depends on your experience. Some employers like to pay you based on your experience, but you can definitely look for north of $50,000 a month,
Gotcha.
which is pretty fair. That's
Per,
about,
sorry, per.
So,
year.
sorry,
Okay.
per year. I wish.
I'm
Yeah,
like, whoa.
that would be pretty nice, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That'd
I'm
be-
like,
that-
dang.
that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which the
but-
salaries out there like that. But
Yeah. So, but those jobs are here, and imagine like those are entry levels, right?
Correct.
So you could.
Those are
de-
entry level. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, got it.
yeah.
And then oh, sorry, you probably get to that, but I'm just trying to get people the mindset too that, oh, I need a job. So like in your space again, is that something, China, where you can be hired by a can you also be hired? I'm thinking the answer is yes. You can be hired by a company to manage or you can be where you went out there and said, for example, if I go on EK or Facebook, right, or LinkedIn, and I see person in the Cayman Islands need to manage my own finances, do you think I can? Could it be where this guy here is living in the Cayman Islands, retired, sick and tired of taking care of his stuff, and he just want me to manage his finances, and he's an individual, not a company, was probably a company to a LLC. But do you think a lot of that existing to where I can apply to work for that gentleman to manage his investments?
Those opportunities are here, but I'll just kind of like clarify it a bit more.
Okay.
they're here, but not by people who are retired and just don't want to take care of their funds.
Okay.
Those opportunities are here in the perspective of what's called like a family office or a wealth advisory firm, which is actually what I do.
Okay.
I work for a wealth advisory firm.
Okay. Or so it's gonna be a farm, or it can be an individual.
It could be an individual, or it can be a firm with
Got it.
multiple individuals.
Okay.
Or it could be a firm that just takes care of multiple individuals, and essentially what they do is they ensure that their assets are well managed or well taken care of, or they just make sure everything is up to date, make sure that there's no laws that will affect the wealth that they're managing on behalf of that person. And compliance and a bunch of different stuff, but essentially it's asset protection, and a lot of those are here in the form of a trust, family office, and there are a lot of them here.
Wow.
And then you also not only have those, but you have opportunities with like working for a hedge fund.
Yeah.
We have thousands of hedge funds on the
Wow.
island here. Most of them may be abroad, but they're registered here.
Yeah, for tax purposes, right? That's,
Of course.
That's the beauty about living in Cayman. I mean, we always talk about how expensive it is, how bad it is, it's true. But the outside world has seen the advantages of being here.
Yeah.
We just need, and we will continue, hopefully, again, different series, because I'd like you to educate more people that what exists here, that you guys can and tap into, again, spend the evening educating yourself if you don't need to go to college, and get into that space there that's highly paid. Yeah. But
So-
you gotta have a good mindset with it, again, because you're making, again, I've seen people make $80,000 a year, but yet they're failing. They're an alcoholic, or they're partying in the evening, or they've got a couple of baby mamas screaming at them, and it's drama and stuff, and it's totally distracting them from what they want to do. I like, sorry, just to segue a little bit, I had what's his name? Shaquille O'Neal came here when I ran my boat business, and I sold it. But Shaquille O'Neal, and he was here to, and he has a slogan, or work ethic. He has none of my cheese without 2 degrees. His sons cannot, and so they're going, oh, don't you think that's so hard? He's like, no, that's fine. They don't have to live by that. His daughters cannot date till the age of 24. He said they have to have at least 2 degrees to have he said, because in case they get a divorce, they're not struggling to pay the mortgage. Then they can, the boys 17 before they can even go on a date. He wants them to concentrate on a career, a degree, getting that out of the way. She's like, don't you think that's bad? He's only, this guys or boys, they like girls. He said, I don't care. I don't care. I need them to not have all these distractions. If you want part of my cheese and I sponsor you to go to college, no dating, because I want your head screwed on to take care of that. So again, it's great to have investments, but if you dabble in the alcohol and the partying and the drinking and babies all over the place, it so screws up your head.
That's good. It's funny you said that, because I was listening to something yesterday, and in the video I was listening to, the gentleman said, it's Alex Hormozy. I like to listen to some of his videos. He's an entrepreneur, very successful. But he was saying, I might paraphrase a little, but he was saying that when you have wealth, it does not make any sense to leave it behind to someone who is not educated or who will not do the right thing with your wealth. If you have wealth in a person that you're leaving it to, like a kid or a son or a daughter, doesn't understand money, doesn't understand business, or like just shows bad signs that show signs that
they got lots of money in the
they won't steward the wealth that you created.
Correct.
It's better for you to give it to someone else.
Charity.
Exactly, because essentially, why leave behind millions of dollars to someone that's gonna not do what they should do with it, right? So you need to educate the people that's coming behind you, so that when you're gone, they're in a good position to do what you've done, maybe in a different route, but basically to do the right thing. Right?
Correct.
And if the people you're leaving it behind are not going to do that, what's the point?
Exactly.
What's the point of building wealth to leave
for
it?
them? Spoiled brats, and even
spend it while you're here, if that's the case, right?
Exactly. Even Maverick's guy Cuban, same thing. I heard he has a home here in Cayman, and it's the same thing. He said they have Shark Tank where they sponsor other people and stuff like that. And one of the ladies, I can't remember what it was, deodorant or whatever it was, or lotion or whatever. And he says, I'll fund you if you will agree to let my girls tag along with you to learn that space, whether it's at Walmart, putting it on the shelves, whatever. He says, because I do not want my kids growing up being entitled. I made my money. but I don't want them growing up being entitled, because if they're spoiled brats, they're gonna just take it, party, drugs,
Yes.
drinking, alcoholics, and just waste it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's a mindset thing.
So
Yeah.
back to that again, mindset.
Yeah, it's a mindset, and you learn that from sports as well too, right?
Agreed.
In boxing, you learn how to handle adversity, how to handle failure,
Exactly.
how to have a plan. Like Mike Tyson says, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face.
Yeah.
You learn how to proceed with your plan even after getting punched in the face, right?
Yeah, gotcha.
In real life, that could translate to you're trying to accomplish this particular goal and you fail, but you're still going for it. You're still
Right.
going at the plan.
Right.
You haven't let that failure stop you.
There you
That's
go.
a mindset.
There you go.
I've seen people that have tried to pursue a venture, failed once, and they're like, forget about it.
Exactly.
Right? It's a mindset. It's a mindset.
Correct.
And in life, in business, and relationships, you will fail.
Exactly.
But that doesn't mean you have to stop and not try again, right?
Yeah, and doesn't
So-
mean you have to feel such a sense of failure, because I've been trying to learn this online space. Sometimes I'm like, sometimes you get this feeling, man, this is a failure, because like I feel, sometimes I honestly like feel like a failure, because again, trying to learn the say affiliate marketing space, because nobody teaches it here. I've been trying to get the colleges here to teach, but again, they can't teach what they don't know.
Correct.
A lot of these guys are older heads who have not been taught digital
Correct.
marketing, right? And so you can feel so frustrated and such a sense of failure sometimes, because I didn't get that, I'm just trying to learn it. And so yeah, feeling, and there's people that say, I've known people that try to get be an Olympian, and because they couldn't be, that was the only thing, and they were hell bent on it. And that's okay to have a goal, but you cannot make it where if you don't become that. I know a person that committed suicide because they didn't become an Olympian. I know people that try to be again Olympian, and they are into drugs now because they just felt that was their purpose in getting that, and if they couldn't do that, they were a total failure.
Yes.
And that's why you
Yeah,
gotta say, I failed at that, and I sometimes encourage myself. The guy that did the bulb, he failed 1,000 times.
Yes.
And then he hit it. So we cannot make ourselves feel such a failure. And I think that's why, unfortunately, a lot of guys go into having children and all this. I think they failed in business. They failed in being a successful entrepreneur financially, and so they start fathering these children all over the place because that's something they can do.
Yes.
Not realizing, oh man, look what you're doing to society. Look what you're doing to children. Raising up a community of kids who are fatherless. Yeah. So accepting failure as in, man, yeah, I feel bad about that, but that's not me.
Yeah.
That part failed. No, I'm going to try something else. And so having community to around what we're doing is so important, and that's where we want to help create spaces and a community of people that, again, whether financial or vocational, whatever, and they have that space online and in person at times to say, this is what I tried, I failed at this, what do you guys think I should do? Where they're not left alone, because being left alone, the Bible says that it's not good for man to be alone. And I think a lot of men and people interpret that to mean like, oh, I don't have a partner, I'm alone. No, alone, and I failed at something else, guys, what do you think, what else should I try? That kind of, yeah,
Like
community
having a
is very
community,
important.
yes.
Isolation is bad.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would argue that if you aren't failing at something, you aren't doing anything.
There was a father, it was impressive. There was a father that used to do that. They said, at the end of the day, at the end of each week, I think it was, he asked his kids, okay, tell me, what did you fail at this week?
Yeah.
To get them used to, life is no peaches and cream here, and no free lunches. You're gonna fail at the time. So you're not supposed to go out and smoke weed or get in trouble because you fail. You should not feel such a sense of failure because you failed at that one thing you tried. And that's important. Mindset again.
Yes, mindset, yeah. So for all the listeners, I would just like to close off saying that whatever you want, whatever that might be, it starts with having the right mindset. Because the path that you're gonna go after, if it's a good path, it's gonna be challenging. And if it's challenging, it's gonna come with failure.
Yeah.
And if
Correct.
your mindset towards failure is, okay, I tried, it didn't work,
I'm a
whatever,
failure.
I'm not gonna do it again, then that's the only way that you will lose. But in order to win, you have to fail enough times in order for you to finally get where you want to go. Like for example, I did a few job interviews in the past, and I did so poorly at them, it was like ridiculously bad.
Really?
And I was like, okay, well, I know exactly where I went wrong.
Okay.
Right? The next interview, I'll never make that mistake again, because I learned a lesson that has made all of my future interviews just not perfect, but just excellent, right?
Yeah.
And that only happened because I failed at a
Mhm.
few different job interviews.
Gotcha.
So apply for jobs, fail at those jobs that you apply for. I'm not telling you to fail, but if you fail,
If you fail,
if you
you're
fail,
not a failure.
learn
From that.
where you went wrong.
Yeah.
Learn where you could have went better. Learn what to not do again.
There you
And it
go.
doesn't have to be jobs, but it can be an exam. You might have taken an exam. Figure out which part of that exam you failed at. Figure out what part your weak areas are where you can work at. It could be a relationship. Which part of the relationships where you're not the best person at. Take accountability. Learn from it and say, okay, well, in my future relationship, this is what I'll do different.
Mm-hmm.
Or it could be school, it could be sports. Learn what's causing your failures
Mm-hmm.
and treat your failures as opportunities for you to get to the next level. Not opportunity, not a perspective that you're unable to make it to the
Right.
next level.
Right.
You need to fail to progress.
Right. And
Right.
you're not a failure because, oh, why can I be an entrepreneur? These other people are out there being successful. Why can I look like them? It's just not made for me. I
Yeah.
gotta do something else and quick money, man. It's just too hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope and I wish that young people now are looking at Diddy, right? And he's a billionaire. And I was listening to one of the guy the other day, and last night actually, it was saying how because when you have some spendable money, then you have money to put into, like, let's just call S&P 500 whatever, and you had this can't remember the name, it was an alcoholic company that sold alcohol, came and did a deal with Diddy too, right?
Mhm.
And so he made more money, but then they were saying, I can't remember the name of the podcaster, I don't know if he's a lawyer, because a lot of lawyers have been thinking that, but apparently that deal went bad with him and with selling the alcohol. The partnership went bad, kind of like Elon Musk and Trump, where that's going kind of bad.
Yeah, that was
And
interesting.
so they were saying how they use this alcohol firm company, distillery, whatever, is who's coming back and saying, listen, and it must be saying this is about human being, whatever. We got to stop him here. That's just my understanding, and again from this podcaster. So and I always believe this, that when you do good to people, a good will follow you. Look at Warren Buffett, billionaire. I've never heard about him being pulled into court for fraud or molestation or human trafficking and all that stuff. So I hope that also young people see, as the old people said, come bad, go bad. He got some bad, and they said Hollywood was behind him for a long time, right? When you start dabbling in, when you're getting big money, but you start dabbling a lot of wrong that's hurting people, then you're also, I never used to believe in it, but it exists. When you have Hollywood people coming out, and there's such a thing as Illuminati, there's evil people, again, repeat. Hollywood unions, like a Cat Williamson saying how evil it is. The Illuminati, the demonic thing, is messing with devils and demons and all that. Then, look at poor Diddy, just billionaire young man. That's what people are saying. Like, he should be given a charter and dying, leaving a legacy of good. Now he's in his 50s, and now he's there struggling with, am I going to get sentenced? I heard now he moved his case to October, right? And more stuff coming behind. So you're billionaire, and can you have built, like, I love building, and my dream is, if I had money for a man, I'd go into a community and create a nice, I love little pretty things, create little homes, like affordable homes. I wouldn't say I'd give them away, but just real affordable homes for people to be able to buy, or up and coming entrepreneurs. I saw this black guy who used to work for Elon Musk. He went into Atlanta. He didn't even have the money. He went and bought like an acre of land. He got each person put in 25,000 and buying. They had 100,000. They were able to buy like an acre of land there in Atlanta, right? And they took that money there. And once the four of them owned that piece of land, then they could go to the bank. Then they went to the bank and say, okay, let me build these 4 homes, and like, they're small, but like 250,000. You had professionals that were buying these because they were professionals, weren't married, didn't have kids, and they just wanted their own space for themselves affordably, and for like 250. And then just nice spaces. And of course, they had outdoor play spaces where. So like, why can't we use our money to be? Why we be so demonic that we, but it's hard to not be that way if you're in that space there. So mindset again is important. If you want to be at money to bling 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 and party and start dabbling in all this stuff, you'll find yourself where you're a billionaire, but in your 50s when you should be able to kick back and enjoy life, you're facing a life sentence, or a prison sentence. Yeah.
And it's interesting too because you can spend a lifetime building the most amazing reputation, and it just takes one mistake or one incident to destroy a lifetime worth of reputation. And there's a saying that says money only amplifies more of who you actually are. So just because you're a billionaire doesn't necessarily mean you're a good person.
Got it.
So that element exists as well. And there's one thing I wanted to say. I forgot.
Go for it.
I forgot. What was it again?
That's
yeah,
okay.
yeah. It was a good point, but
I'm so
forgot
sorry.
it.
I
But
probably distracted you. It
that's
happens,
fine.
right? Yeah.
It happens.
So,
It happens.
Yeah, it happens. Yeah. But it does amplify who you are for sure. And I never knew that because, and I guess I never knew that. I think it was that Steve Harvey, one of them. If you're an aggressive person, give more money, you can be very aggressive. If you're a good-hearted person, give you more money, and you can find how you can do more good with that money. They say it's almost the exact same thing with drugs or weed. If you're an aggressive person, a lot of times you become more aggressive when you start smoking the weed. If you're a calm person, you just become more sedate and calmer when you do that.
That's
so
true.
it's almost that's what I've heard.
I remember the point. Sorry to interrupt you.
Sorry. No.
Like the example with P. Diddy, I don't know. I haven't looked into the case much.
Yeah.
However, what's important is your environment, because he might be a good person, right? I don't really know P. Diddy like that. But let's just say he was a good person inside, but his environment, the people he was surrounded with, were similar to the things that he's now
accused of,
right?
Yeah, sorry.
He becomes like his environment.
There you go.
So if you have a good mindset in a bad environment, the formula kind of gets messed up. The formula is like, it's an incorrect formula. You need the right environment, because when you have the right environment, the right people around you, you naturally want to compare yourself to this person.
Yeah.
Or this person just did X, Y, and Z. I think I can do that as well. Not in an envious way, but in a way that what the other person or persons around you are doing inspires you to elevate.
Correct.
So you need that environment around you that pushes you.
Correct.
This person is doing well here.
Right.
I could also do well here.
Right.
Right? Not in an envious way.
Right.
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 And that's very important, because if you're around an environment where you're trying to progress, you're trying to adopt the correct mindset, but the people around you are saying, hey, let's go and smoke, or hey, let's go out, hey, I got X, Y, and Z, let's go and do this, and it doesn't help improve your mindset, help you go where you want to go,
correct,
then essentially that's hindering where you're trying to go. That's hindering your future self. So it's the decisions and habits that you make today that's going to determine where you're going to be a year or 2 or 3 from now. And you just have to have that right environment. Yeah. And sometimes you might not have the people around you because they're just not there. But you could find communities online.
Correct.
You could
correct.
listen.
Correct.
You could listen to certain videos that improve your mindset. You could read certain books. And I like this quote: "Readers are leaders." Right. I like to read as well. Yeah. I don't see myself as like a leader, but I like to read because it helps me become better. Yeah. It helps me improve my mindset, and it helps educate myself on what I want to learn more about. But yeah, your environment is important. Mindset, Absolutely. Your environment. Surround yourself with people that you want to get inspired by, or surround yourself with people that are better than you. So when they do certain things, you said, okay, I can do that as well. Right. Seeing someone else do it implements a belief system in you that it's possible. Correct. And that's what you want, right? Correct.
And assuming too, and I think we got to draw the line too, as in, and definitely I'd like to be around smarter people like me, and today I am, because you're telling me something about a financial investment that I know nothing about when it comes to, again, my thing I know about real estate, that's it. When you surround yourself, and then again, once again, you got to have a moral compass, you got to have Christian values, you got to have something that guides you, or otherwise. I can give you an example. I dated a guy that he was very well off out of Atlanta, and he said to me, I need you. He had bought, I'm not gonna say, but a certain bar on island, right? And he's like, I need you to manage that for me. I really need you. And I'm like, no, and no. I said, you can pay me $1 million. I am not gonna do that because, and they're like, oh, you're good at what you do, you're in tourism, whatever. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna do that because I have a strong thing against alcohol because I see where it destroyed some of the brightest, have bright family members. That move from alcohol to drug use, and I'm like, no, I'm not gonna do that because it hurts. It'll give me millions of dollars per month. Yeah, I mean, sorry, 200 million. What? Sorry, probably $1 million net a year, whatever it was, right? But it goes against my values, and even though I could see you were making big money out of that, because I see it's a hurt to for me, it's a hurt to society. And people say, oh yeah, but you should be able to social drink. I know a lot of people that cannot no longer social drink. So I don't touch what can